Canada was meant to be the 51st state.
As U.S. President Donald Trump continues to target Canada with annexation, Canadians are finally realizing that this is no longer a joke.
One of the nastiest countries to deal with is Canada.
His brazen threats to use economic measures, such as his trade war tariffs, to force us into becoming the 51st state are in essence a declaration of war. It is time to target just what steps, if any, that Canada could take to prevent Trump's annexation. To grasp the degree of President Trump's delusions, he actually thinks he's being benevolent by allowing that we could keep "O Canada" as our state anthem, and he advocates that we could elect hockey legend Wayne Gretzky as our future governor.
He said, well, am I going to run for prime minister or governor? I said, I don't know, let's make it governor. I like it better.
This turn of events is something no one would have envisioned even 2 short months ago. Canadians have reacted to Trump's threats and insults through such means as publicly booing the U.S. anthem at sporting events.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light?
The rally cry of "elbows up" has now become synonymous with Canadians' will to resist in the coming tariff war. And there is a brisk trade nationwide in merchandise which is emblazoned with the slogan, "Canada is not for sale." No one even dares to whisper what would be available options for the Canadian Armed Forces if this spat escalates beyond the realm of words and financial penalties. However, defense and Canada's lack of defense spending are at the forefront of Trump's disdain for Canada. Sadly for patriotic Canadians, the majority of the military hardware that Canada does purchase is from U.S. defense companies. In a perfect world, Canada could boost actual defense spending while simultaneously turning those tax dollars to a country other than the U.S. We could hit Trump where it counts most, in the pocketbook. In fact, one of the first directives issued by newly sworn-in Prime Minister Mark Carney was to that of Minister of Defense Bill Blair, instructing him to search for an alternative to the Lockheed Martin F-35 fighter planes.
We're at a point in history where the world is being reordered.
During his March 17 visit to the UK and France, Carney also asked British and French officials about the possibility of either of those countries building a fighter jet in Canada. This would be a huge blow to Lockheed Martin and the US defense industry. In 2022, following competition, the Royal Canadian Air Force, RCAF, selected the F-35 as the replacement aircraft for their aging fleet of CF-18 fighter jets. The Trudeau Liberals announced they would purchase a total of 88 F-35s at a total purchase cost of $19 billion. However, in December 2022, Canada issued a $7 billion contract for the acquisition of the first 16 F-35s. The first of these RCAF aircraft are to be delivered in 2026, with the F-35s becoming fully operational around 2032. So with Canada only under contract for 16 F-35s, it would seem a simple solution would be to cancel the order for the remaining 66 F-35s and stick it to the Lockheed Martin and by extension Trump for close to $12 billion. While that might enrage our American neighbors, it turns out it is not so simple to walk away from the U.S. military-industrial complex. For the record, the F-35s are currently built and assembled in the U.S. However, last Thursday, Lockheed Martin offered to increase job creation in Canada if we agreed to purchase the additional 66 F-35s, which begs the question, why was that not already part of the deal? The runner-up in the competition to replace the CF-18s was the Saab Gripen fighter jet. As a part of their original proposal, Saab offered to assemble the Gripens in Canada, which would create jobs in Canada's aviation sector. In the RCAF competition, the Gripen also scored better than the F-35 when it came to long-term maintenance costs. So it would be a no-brainer for Canada to pivot away from the F-35, purchase the Gripens, create Canadian jobs, and save money in the long run. Think again. It turns out that any possible alternatives to the F-35 aircraft contain large quantities of U.S. technology. In the case of the Gripen, it is the engines. The Americans still hold the trump card in this game. As such, if pushed with an F-35 cancellation, the U.S. could in fact block us from obtaining fighters from any other source. Similarly, the U.S. control of military technology extends to the new Canadian surface combatant ships being constructed by Irving Shipbuilding. Originally, those 15 River-class destroyers were to be outfitted with a Canadian-developed command system called the CMS 330, but instead the Liberal government approved the use of an American radar and command system, Aegis, giving the U.S. full control over a critical capability for the Canadian fleet. Back in December 2020, the Ottawa Citizen reported that Canadian defense industry officials had previously warned Jody Thomas, then the Deputy Minister at D&D, about the potential dangers of US-controlled technology and the lack of Canadian content on board Canadian surface combatants. But those concerns were dismissed by department officials. That was then, and this is now. This has been On Target, and I'm Scott Taylor.